Sauron didn't want to destroy the world. He wanted to fix it. And the most terrifying thing, as I said before, is he was right. He just drew the wrong conclusion. This isn't a story about a monster. This is a story about a cure that became a cancer. About a mind so brilliant it saw every problem, and a heart so broken it chose the worst possible solution. So, if you're ready, let's meet the real Sauron, not the eye, the architect.
Act 1. The Diagnostician.
We misunderstand evil. We think it's a creature, a thing that hates. But what if the most dangerous evil doesn't hate? What if it disdains? Enter Sauron. Before the rings, before the war, before the shadow. In the beginning, he wasn't Sauron. He was Mairon, the admirable, a Maia of Aule, the Vala of craft, of making, of systems. Think about that. His native language wasn't black speech. It was the logic of the forge, the mathematics of stress and load, the beauty of a perfect joint, a flawless alloy. He didn't start in a pit of fire. He started in the workshop of a god. And his sin wasn't born in flames. It was born in a single, quiet, horrifying thought. This is inefficient. Look at Middle-earth after the wars of the First Age. It's a broken system. Chaotic, wild, unruly. Mortal kingdoms rise and fall like weeds. Elves cling to fading beauty like ghosts to cold stones. Dwarves tunnel in dark, disconnected halls, their hammers beating rhythms that don't sync with the world's pulse. It's messy, wasteful, unoptimized. And into this mess walks a mind shaped by Aule, a mind that sees not a living world, but a faulty design. Morgoth, his first master, was pure entropy. He wanted to unmake the music, to scream over the symphony. Sauron? Sauron wanted to reorchestrate it. He looked at the chaos and didn't see something to love or hate. He saw a problem to be solved. His question wasn't, is this good or evil? His question was, does it work? And that single question is the most dangerous thing that ever entered Middle-earth.
Act 2. The CEO of Middle-earth.
So let's abandon the fairy tale. Let's look at Sauron's Middle-earth not as a Dark Lord's kingdom, but as a corporate prospectus. Mordor isn't a hellscape. It's a special economic zone. It's a factory, the most efficient one on the continent. What's its product? Order. The orcs aren't demons. They're the raw material of his will, brutalized, broken, and repurposed. Their suffering isn't cruelty, it's the fuel. The Nazgul aren't ghosts, they're the administrators of his despair. Beings who traded the slow death of their souls for the illusion of power and became forever dependent on the system that hollowed them out. And Barad-dûr, that's the central office, the headquarters.
Sauron isn't a tyrant on a throne. He's the CEO, the founder, the visionary. His goal? A complete vertical integration of reality. To turn the wild singing forest of Arda into plantation timber. To replace the unpredictable symphony of free wills with the metronome's perfect dead tick. One rule, one will, one perfectly efficient system to end all the friction, all the waste, all the pointless, screaming chaos of freedom. And the One Ring, it's not just a magic ring, it's the ultimate tool. It's the algorithm, the master key, the central server. Imagine a piece of technology that could sync every heart, every mind to a single purpose. No more arguments, no more rebellions, no more difficult, messy choices. Just smooth, frictionless operation. This is Sauron's offer. Not serve me or die, but join the system, and everything will finally work. It's the seduction of the spreadsheet, the promise that if we could just control all the variables, we could eliminate all the pain. And for a moment, he almost made it work, not with force, but with a partnership. And that partnership wasn't a king or a warrior. It was an artist. And for a single shining moment, Sauron remembered what it was like to create instead of control.
Act 3. The Betrayed Friend.
Close your eyes. Forget the lidless eye. Forget the armor. See this. Ostin Edhill, the capital of Eregin. In the Second Age, it was the Silicon Valley of Middle-earth, a hub of makers, artists, and engineers. The air hummed not with magic, but with potential. And here walks Onatar, the Lord of Gifts. His face is fair. His words are wise. He doesn't command. He collaborates. And he finds Celebrimbor. Celebrimbor, the last of Feanor's line, a being whose soul was forged in the same creative fire as Sauron's own. This is the emotional core of the entire legendarium, this friendship. It wasn't a lie, not at first. When Onatar spoke of healing Middle-earth, of raising it to glory, of making it as fair as Valinor, he meant it. For the first time since he served Aule, Sauron wasn't managing a disaster. He was building something with someone who understood him, someone who spoke the language of craft, of sub-creation, of wanting to make things better. They weren't master and servant. They were partners, perhaps even friends. The rings of power weren't conceived as weapons. They were a joint venture, a startup, the ultimate app for preserving what is good, to heal, to protect, to build. Close your eyes. Forget the lidless eye. Forget the armor. See this. Ostin Edhill, the capital of Eregin. In the Second Age, it was the Silicon Valley of Middle-earth, a hub of makers, artists, and engineers. The air hummed not with magic, but with potential. And here walks Onatar, the Lord of Gifts. His face is fair. His words are wise. He doesn't command. He collaborates. and he finds Celebrimbor. Celebrimbor, the last of Feanor's line, a being whose soul was forged in the same creative fire as Sauron's own. This is the emotional core of the entire legendarium, this friendship. It wasn't a lie, not at first. When Anatar spoke of healing Middle-earth, of raising it to glory, of making it as fair as Valinor, he meant it. For the first time since he served Aule, Sauron wasn't managing a disaster. He was building something, with someone, who understood him, someone who spoke the language of craft, of sub-creation, of wanting to make things better. They weren't master and servant, they were partners, perhaps even friends. The rings of power weren't conceived as weapons. They were a joint venture, a startup, the ultimate app for preserving what is good, to heal, to protect, to build.
The war that followed wasn't just conquest. It was a tantrum of cosmic proportions. It was the rage of being seen, truly seen, and rejected. He didn't just kill Celebrimbor, he tortured him. He defiled his corpse. Because Celebrimbor wasn't an enemy. He was the living proof that Sauron could have been something else, and he chose not to be. He murdered the one mirror that showed him a reflection he couldn't bear. And in the silent moment after the deed, in the chemical stillness that follows rage spent, there must have been a flicker. Not of remorse, that ship had sailed, but of cold, geometric recognition. The recognition that in eliminating the flaw in his design, he had also eliminated the only remaining proof that something better had ever been possible. He didn't mourn Celebrimbor. He catalogued his absence, and the entry in that mental ledger read, "Necessary reduction of system complexity. Outcome, increased efficiency. Side effect, irreversible elimination of beauty as variable." Even his regrets were optimizations. And if you listen to the oldest tales from the darkest corners of the East, they whisper of a forge master who, centuries later, would sometimes pause at his work. When presented with a design of particular elegance, a joinery of unexpected grace, his flame-touched hand would hover for a heartbeat too long, not in admiration, in recognition. The recognition of a language he had deliberately unlearned, a dialect of beauty he had declared inefficient. Then the moment would pass, the design would be melted down for its raw materials, added to the stockpile. Optimized. That pause, that fractional hesitation between seeing beauty and recycling it, was the ghost of Mairon, the last tremor of the artist before the system absorbed him completely. After that, there was no more Anatar. The Lord of Gifts was dead, and from his ashes rose something far worse, a god for a world that had forgotten how to believe in anything real.
Act 4. The Religion of Nothing.
Broken, furious, and now utterly committed to his system, Sauron engineered his own capture by the superpower of the age, Númenor. He walked into their golden city not as a prisoner, but as a consultant. And he diagnosed their disease, the fear of death. His prescription? Not faith, not hope, not courage. Management. He didn't give them a dark god to worship. He gave them a framework. He told them, your so-called gods, the Valar, they're just incompetent administrators. They've hoarded immortality. Melkor? He's not a devil. He's the original disruptor, the liberator. He offers freedom through power. He built them a religion without a soul, a theology of pure transactional utility. Worship Melkor, the giver of freedom, and you will optimize your chances at beating the system of death. The sacrifices in the temple weren't about piety. They were about testing a hypothesis. If we input enough life, will the system output immortality? They called it worship. It was accounting. With blood for ink. It was the coldest, most horrific science experiment. Sauron turned their spiritual longing into an engineering problem, and when the problem couldn't be solved, he offered the ultimate pivot. Invade heaven. Take the immortality your inefficient gods are withholding. He convinced them they could hack the divine. And when our Pharazôn's fleet sailed into the west, they weren't pilgrims. They were the ultimate hostile takeover bid. The downfall wasn't just a punishment. It was a physics lesson. You cannot optimize the sacred. You cannot put a price on the gift of existence. The system broke because it tried to contain something infinite. Sauron's spirit fled back to Middle-earth, but his beautiful, fair form, the last remnant of the Maia of Aul, was gone, burned away. All that was left was the will to power, the function, the algorithm. And that's what we meet in The Lord of the Rings. Not a person, not even a monster, a process that has achieved sentience, and its only goal is to complete the loop.
Act 5. The Sentient System.
So we arrive at the third age, the War of the Ring. Who is Sauron now? He has no body, no voice, no face. He is the lidless pupil, the unblinking witness, the nerve ending of a consciousness too vast to feel anything but its own hunger for completion. He is the will that moves the armies, the thought that corrupts the Palantiri, the fear that freezes hearts in Minas Tirith. He doesn't persuade, he doesn't teach, he doesn't even really want anymore. He processes. Every orc is a pulsing vein in a body too vast to comprehend. Every battle is the twitch of a muscle responding to stimulus. Every betrayal is a predicted variable. His will didn't command armies, it parasolsed them through the landscape like a digestive system processing nutrients. Frodo and Sam aren't heroes to him. They're a cancer cell, a rogue antibody, a sickness in the perfect, sterile organism of his design that must be identified, isolated, and purged. The Rin is no longer just a tool. It is the heart of that organism. Cut it out, and the body dies. Replant it in his hand, and every vein, every artery, every breath of Middle-earth would beat to his single grinding rhythm.
And his entire operation is now dedicated to one goal: reacquiring that heart to complete the final integration. This is the horror Tolkien saw coming. Not the horror of the ogre, the giant, the fairy tale villain. The horror of the perfectly efficient, utterly soulless system. Mordor is a wound that has learned to call itself a system. Scar tissue, organized and sterile. Here, every breath, every heartbeat is just a confirmed entry in a ledger. It is a world that works perfectly, and is therefore completely dead. Which raises the final terrible question. In our quest to fix our world, to optimize it, to make it safe and efficient, whose blueprint are we following?
Act 6. Our present tense.
Tolkien wasn't afraid of orcs. He was afraid of the factory. He was afraid of the machine that replaces the garden. He was afraid of the logic that says a forest has no value until it's lumber, that a story has no value until it's content, that a person has no value until they're a productive unit. He feared the ring, not as a weapon, but as a principle. The principle of centralization, of control for the sake of efficiency, of sacrificing the messy, beautiful, unpredictable gift of freedom on the altar of perfect order. Look around. The eye of Sauron isn't in a tower. It's in the algorithm that knows what you'll buy before you do. It's in the system that prioritizes growth over life, data over dignity, optimization over wonder. We are not building Barad-dûr, but we are, every day, asked to accept its logic. It's more efficient. It's the only way. Your freedom is a security risk. The voice of Sauron isn't a roar. It's the quiet, persuasive, perfectly reasonable voice.
It's the voice that offers a simple solution to a complex pain. And sometimes it sounds a lot like common sense. That's what makes it so hard to refuse. And I'll tell you something uncomfortable. I hate how much I understand him. There are days when I look at the chaos, the screaming headlines, the pointless conflicts, the waste, and something in me whispers, there has to be a better system, a cleaner way, something that works. That whisper is the ghost of Mairon. It's the part of us that sees problems and wants to solve them. And it's not evil. It's just incomplete. Tolkien's answer wasn't a bigger system. It wasn't a better algorithm. It was the Shire. It was the Ents, beings so slow, so inefficient, so alive that they broke the machines of Isengard, not with strategy, but with the sheer, screaming fact of their existence. It was the friendship of the Fellowship, an utterly illogical, inefficient grouping that no system would ever design. It was mercy, given when it made no strategic sense. It was Samwise Gamgee, not because he was a great warrior, but because he was a good gardener. Because a gardener understands you don't control life, you nurture it.
You protect its freedom to grow in its own wild, unpredictable way. And you have faith that from that chaos, something more beautiful than any design will emerge. And in the end, that's what broke the system. Not a better weapon, not a smarter plan, but a simple, irrational act of letting go.
Act 7. The wrong conclusion.
And so we come to the end, at the cracks of doom. The system's core program is back in hand. The final integration is milliseconds away. And Frodo fails. He claims the ring. The logic of power completes its circuit. The CEO wins. And then Gollum bites it off. An accident, a chaotic, random, unplanned event, the variable the system could never, ever account for. Grace, or luck, or pity, shown long ago to a wretched creature, now rippling through reality in a way no algorithm could predict. The ring falls, and the system crashes. Sauron was right about the problem. The world is broken. It is chaotic. It is painful. It is inefficient. It is full of death and loss and things we cannot control. He was a brilliant diagnostician. But his conclusion? That the cure was total control was a catastrophic error. Because you cannot heal a living thing by replacing its soul with a spreadsheet. You cannot fix the music by forcing every instrument to play the same single perfect note. The beauty, the meaning, the life of Middle-earth was in its dissonance, in its variety, in its stubborn, uncontrollable freedom. Morgoth's evil was an explosion. Sauron's evil was a template.
One destroys, the other replaces, and replacement is so much harder to fight because you can see the explosion coming, but the template, it looks like progress, it looks like a solution, it looks like the future, until you realize you're not a citizen in that future. You're a resource, a data point, a confirmed entry in a ledger.